My boyfriend wants to try adding our best friend to our bedroom, even after our friend tried to spike us, and now I'm rethinking everything. Posted by you/throwaway756585. So the other night, my boyfriend of 2 years Mark, 25M, and I, 22F, went to a birthday party, all hyped because we were finally going to see our mutual best friend John, 26M, after about a month. John had been in Russia for a month and had literally come to the party. It was his sister's birthday, straight from the airport. He was all hyped to see us too, and after about an hour of hanging out with everyone else, John asked if we could sneak off and head to his place to catch up. We're all kinda introverted, and crowded places get tiring after a while. Everyone knows we're the trio that leaves every party first. So we're at John's place, just chatting and catching up, and he takes out this capsule and swallows it down with water, telling us it's this plant-based, all-natural stimulant that boosts your energy levels. He said he felt a little jet-lagged. He very casually offered us one each to try, but we said no, and Mark teased him a little for picking up all sorts of things from all sorts of places. John travels a lot and does indeed always bring some fun snacks or protein bars or whatever. It was a really casual conversation, and it somehow turned into John saying, "I got them from the pharmacy and they let me take them on the plane, how bad could they be?" He waved around this Russian bottle with plenty of capsules, and Mark judged the capsules as completely harmless and pointless, and we ended up taking one each. It's hard to capture the moment here, but it was a very, very normal and natural scene in our friendship. Fast forward an hour and I start to feel a little euphoric, so I excuse myself to the bathroom. I splash some water on my face, and when I look in the mirror, I notice that my pupils are really dilated. And the world around me seemed a little warmer, for lack of a better word. I go back to the guys and tell them about this, to which John straight up confesses, "Okay guys, don't hate me, but there was some M in the pills I gave you," explaining how he knows we'd never take it and that there's really no harm. Weed is quite enough for both of us every now and then. I start to panic, and while Mark feels completely fine and sober, he goes all not cool, man, and we leave a very apologetic John. We sat on a bench outside his building, and then Mark starts to really feel it too. It was really hard to stay mad at John, though, because everything felt so fantastic and we were so empathetic. We sat outside for a couple of minutes when Mark's phone starts to ring. It's John, and he's apologizing, but we all feel just so damn calm and awesome. So before long, the three of us end up in a nearby park, chatting and just having a good time. Soon it got a bit chilly, and we discovered that cuddles just feel great. Everything was just so great. I felt completely sober and normal, yet oddly energetic, but perfectly rational, and full of empathy. Somehow, the conversation turned to sex, and John wondered if we'd ever include a third person in our bed. I didn't take the comment seriously, so I went all woo, exciting, but Mark took it more seriously and said, "Maybe, but it's hard to find a good person for that," to which John very casually said he'd join us if he were invited, without it ever getting weird. But the M just made everything cool and okay, so we let it slide. This was a week ago. The following day, when I was feeling the after effects, I wasn't so cool about what John had done, but I felt that what was done was done. And even though I told him off really loudly and clearly, the three of us hung out every day before John leaves for India on the 25th. Don't get me wrong, I will never trust John in that way again, and everyone knows it, and we really did have a huge fight about it. So today, Mark tells me he's really been thinking about having a three-way with John, and the two of them already talked about it yesterday. Now they're just waiting for me to say yes. What the freaking what? I just widened my eyes at him, unsure if he was serious, and then just went to work and told him we'd talk about it when I got back. Here I am now, running out of excuses not to go home, typing this post. What the hell, Reddit? What should I do? On one hand, I do feel like I got into a serious relationship too young. Mark and I are perfect together, and we plan to keep it up, so yeah, this really could be a thrilling experience. But on the other hand, does it have to be with our best friend? John is good-looking, very chill, and just generally a good person, and I've always had a bit of a tiny crush on him. Mark knows, of course, and kind of teases me about it. I'm afraid this will turn out way too messy and complicated, but I sort of feel like I have to say yes. What if I say no, though? I feel like that will just make this awkward, and I'll be the bad guy. /relevant comments. Commenter. Look, this dude gave you drugs without your consent, knowing you'd say no if he asked. I don't think you should be having sex with anyone you can't 100% trust to respect your boundaries and right to consent. Even if you're into the idea of a three-way, I think John has totally ruled himself out. Secondly, in my experience, three-ways more often go wrong than not. That's not to say they're a bad idea, just that everyone needs to be really sure. You need a stone-cold conversation about it, firstly with your BF, then with any potential third party. Your boyfriend should not have discussed this with a potential third party first and then brought it to you, and if you guys want to revisit the idea, discuss it together first. In any event, if you're not sure, which you're not, it's definitely a no. Ops response. You're right. The thing is, Mark and John always make plans on their own, and I just go along with everything, but it's never things like this. It's things like concerts, where to eat out, which movie to see at the cinema, because I always complicate things and can't make up my mind, and I'm glad to have them make plans for all of us. It really feels like a relief, honestly. But this isn't something like that. I don't know if it is to them, but I feel like this is something they should have included me in while in a very sober state. Thanks, I think this is how I'll start my conversation with them. Commenter 2. Because this is something they should include you in on. This guy should not be trusted. And yet your boyfriend is acting like you were never drugged, and he's even using the conversation that took place while you were high. At best, it's scummy. At worst, it kind of makes you wonder if it was planned between the two of them. Ironically, I'm pretty sure he'd freak out if he saw his best friend have sex with you. But that's neither here nor there. You're going to have to polish that spine up. It concerns me that you say you always mess things up or complicate things when planning, because that tells me they may try to use that history against you to pull you toward their way of thinking. Trust your gut. This feels off because it is off. Ops response. Thank you for pointing that out, that they can use that part of our history against me. I'll keep it in mind. It's very important not to get trapped into that, because knowing myself, I probably would. I'm definitely not going along with it. Update 1 day later. Thanks to all your advice, you awesome Redditors, I made the decision to do and say the following regarding the situation with my boyfriend and best friend. There were so many comments I didn't get to reply to before I met up with the guys, but I've still read them all, and I just want to say I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for taking the time to advise me. You guys made me feel less alone in this situation, and if it weren't for you, I would have had no one to turn to. So I ignored all the calls and texts I received from Mark and John when I didn't show up at home yesterday. I slept over at a colleague's place, and before it got too late, I texted both Mark and John to meet me at a cafe first thing in the morning today to talk things through. When I showed up about 10 minutes early, they were already there, and they'd already ordered my favorite drink. The first thing I did when I sat down was tell them not to talk until I'd gotten everything I needed to say out. And they respected that. Mostly, they did try to interrupt me a couple of times. So to paraphrase what I said to John, I am not okay at all with you giving us M without asking us explicitly first. It was very, very wrong. Even if you meant no harm, even if you knew we would like it, even if it was frustrating for you that we wouldn't take it just because we decided drugs weren't for us once upon a time, and even though it turned out to be fine in the end, I am not okay with it. And no one should be. This is something you should never, ever, ever do to anyone. Drugging people is messed up. I don't even know how you justify this to yourself, and I don't even want to know. To Mark, as for you, I'm not okay with how unaffected you seem by it. It honestly makes me doubt that you were as clueless as I was about the whole deal, and I even think that you guys might have planned this behind my back just to get me to agree to a three-way. Which I do not want to happen, ever. For many, many reasons that we can discuss later. I'm also not okay with you guys going and talking about it after the M and you Mark just bringing it up casually like it's the most normal thing in the world to do. That's so many levels of messed up that I can't even begin to describe it. You guys should have talked about it together with me, no matter what. At the moment, I trust neither of you, and I need to be on my own for a while. Both of you crossed a very thick line, especially you, John, and it can't be undone, no matter what. In reality, it wasn't as smooth, and I shook through the first half of the conversation and couldn't really look either of them in the eye properly. By the end of the monologue, I'd sweat a bucket, but I said all I had to say. As lame as it may seem, I basically took out things I liked from your comments and things your comments made me realize, wrote this speech, and read it over and over while I couldn't sleep. Then I proceeded to ask Mark to go stay with John until he has to leave for India, on the 25th, because we live together, and that will decide then how we, and mostly I, feel about our living arrangements. When Mark asked if this meant we were over, I said, I don't know, and that we talk about it another day. Because honestly, I don't know. As for their part, at first they were a bit you're overreacting, and you can't be serious, and come on, we would never, but when they realized how serious I actually was, both of them were extremely apologetic and regretful, and I could tell that John was seriously holding back tears. There was a lot of screw the stupid idea about a three-way, and it's so irrelevant at this point if you feel like this. Mark just shut down and didn't say much, except things like, okay, if that's really what you want, and of course you can have all the time you need to think things through, and you know me, You've known me forever, you know I would never, ever let anything harm you. He literally seemed shocked at everything I said. At first, they both tried to talk some sense into me and denied anything negative ever happened and promised their innocence while admitting their mistakes. But when I wouldn't back down, they just resorted to apologies of the sort, "God, I really wish I could take this all back from John, and I can't believe I was so stupid not to see this was hurting you." So it was mainly positive. I asked them not to text or call until it was time for John to leave and to just generally leave me to myself while I try to figure things out. Before I left, Mark asked to hug me, and I let him. He said, "Please don't leave me," and that was it. And when I started typing on here, I got a text from Mark saying, "John canceled his trip, so I'll stay with him until you want me to move back," with a follow-up text, "If you ever do. No matter what you think, just try to remember I love you more than anything." I haven't sent a reply, nor do I plan to. So I don't know what I will do. I still don't know what to think, but having this talk was like dropping a huge burden off my shoulders, so I guess that's a step forward. Any advice is more than welcome. I don't know if, again, I am biased and think this went well or if it's just another ploy to manipulate me. So many questions buzzing now. Should I break up with Mark? Should I ever forgive John? Have all the years we've been friends meant nothing to them, and did they just decide to show their true selves at last? I feel played and stupid, and I don't know what to think. I've trusted them more than anyone my entire life, but now, yeah, it's kinda hard too. I'm not allowed to post another update after this, so I guess this is it. I suppose it isn't really closure yet, but I don't think there will be a better time to write an update than now. I just want to express my immense gratitude for all your help, once again.